It's a real privilege to be with all of you this morning. I got to tell you, yesterday's event was fantastic. I was on the line the entire time, listening to the two panels, and I can't thank them enough. They did a bang-up job, and I'm excited about today's panels as well because I know the speakers, I know the topics that they're going to cover, and I can tell you, they're really going to rock your world. They are phenomenal. But enough about them. Let's talk about what we're doing this morning. First of all, I do want to give a shout out to Dr. Wooten and his very inspirational speech yesterday. He really captured the essence of our symposium, which is our people, our partners, our mission. And he spoke about all three very eloquently. He is a strong advocate of the acquisition workforce, as demonstrated by his various initiatives, especially his focus on the acquisition workforce of the future and focusing on what are the tools, the resources that we need so that we can adapt our government to the workforce that's coming in. We can't keep doing things the way we did them yesterday. I think COVID-19 has demonstrated that, but more so, we're learning as we go. And he is a huge advocate of making sure that we're adapting our training, our resources, how we do our business, including our regulations, to that workforce of the future. So very inspired by his speech. I appreciate his time, his energy, and his effort, and his willingness to participate with us. He's a very busy person these days, and he did take time out of his schedule to join us. So again, the Administrator of the Office of Federal Procurement Policy, Dr. Wooten, and all of his staff there have always been very supportive of DHS and the various initiatives that we have underway. So this morning, I thought I'd give you a real treat. You all hear from me all the time. I'm out there, I'm constantly giving speeches and talking, and people bore you with my blog posts and all that good stuff. I hope you're reading my blog posts. They're pretty good, actually, if I may say so myself. But you hear from me all the time. So I thought it'd be a real treat to hear from our Deputy Chief Procurement Officer. I know he's a person that really requires no introduction. Many of you have heard of Paul before, but I always think it's a real privilege to talk a little bit about Paul. Not only his background, but the person that he is. I'm very honored and grateful that he took the position of the Deputy Chief Procurement Officer. He's a great addition to our team. His focus, his attention on the workforce, but also his knowledge and his capabilities in the area of procurement and his forward thinking. He really is looking for solutions. He's passionate about mission, but he also believes in our people and our workforce and how do we enable you to deliver on that mission. Paul came to us from FBI, where he was the head of contracting and a member of the intelligence community. And so I met him on 2 counts, and I always like telling a story about how I met Paul because it tells you a lot about the person that he is. Paul knew our former former executive director of Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. Look, it's day 63 of me working at home, so bear with me. Anyway, but Paul knew Kevin Boshears, and Kevin approached me about a meeting with Paul because Paul was trying to identify organizations that staff at the FBI could come to should they not want to move to Alabama, because earlier last year, or the year before actually, it had been announced that FBI was going to be moving some of its headquarters management operations to the Alabama area. So Paul came to see me about that, and in the course of the conversation, after we talked about his folks, and obviously I scooped up quite a few of them, but after the course of the conversation, I said, well, what are you going to do? Well, I haven't really given a lot of thought. I'm really kind of focused on my folks, yada, yada, yada. And just his answer right there impressed me. And so I asked him why he didn't apply for my Deputy Chief Procurement Officer job. And he said, well, because I wasn't really looking for a job. So anyway, we continued the conversation, and I had him interviewed by several key people in our organization. And all of us unanimously agreed this is the kind of person that we wanted on our team. Someone who is humble, who is professional, knowledgeable, talented, but most importantly, someone who understands what leadership is really about. And that is that leadership is no longer about yourself. It's about the people that you're leading, the teams and the organizations that you're leading. So for me, it's a great privilege to have someone like Paul on our team because it ensures that he keeps me balanced about what we need to do, not only from a work standpoint, but from our workforce standpoint. He's always willing to jump in on all the tasks. He's a great person to have when you're stuck at home on a pandemic. He and I are in countdown mode, but we don't miss a beat. We're being able to keep up with everything, and most of all, we're able to push forward on things like this symposium and the things that impact our acquisition workforce. So again, I'm very privileged and honored to have him as our Deputy Chief Procurement Officer. I'm not going to read you his bio. I'm just going to tell you he's a great all-around person, and you are in for a real treat to hear from him this morning. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Deputy Chief Procurement Officer, Paul Courtney. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Soraya. Thanks for that warm introduction. Welcome. It is an honor working with you each and every day. And really, sincere thanks to you sponsoring the DHS's first ever CPO virtual symposium. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 2. And to think a few months ago, we were sitting in a room talking about a venue to host this event. How times have changed. And I'll tell you some good news. It's been over 60 days since I've had to wear a suit. And I'm still in the same tank of gas in my car, which is pretty great. I used to fill it up a couple times a week, so I'm pretty happy about that. As you heard yesterday from Dr. Wooten, I hope you're as inspired as I was by what he said. I appreciate his dedication to our profession and the wisdom he brings as the administrator of OFPP. As Soraya mentioned, he shared his vision of the Workforce 2025 and discussed his thoughts regarding tools, schools, rules, and talent pools. We've seen some big changes under his leadership, and we expect to see some bigger changes in the future. He discussed how he envisions FACT-C certifications being changed for the future, so definitely stay tuned for that. Just come to DHS almost a year ago. I've been impressed with the talent spirit of the workforce here. You never cease to amaze me. Even confronted with something as a pandemic, who thought that we ever go through this, 100% telework, working from home, it's just been phenomenal how we've responded to this. And I'm very proud to be part of this team. And as Soraya mentioned, I'm very thankful that she recruited me. If not for her, I obviously wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't even be part of the DHS team. Soraya's commitment to inspire and motivate work resounded closer to me, as she mentioned. It was a very big decision of why I decided to join the procurement family. Although I knew of her great reputation, this is kind of sad, I actually watched YouTube videos of her speeches before accepting the offer. Like I said, some would call that sad. Being a procurement professional, I call that market research. Her desire to laugh at my own jokes, well, hopefully everybody else is laughing. Her desire to deliver exceptional results motivates me to get up each and every day to support programs such as strategic sourcing, not just for DHS, but across the federal government and our category management team. And enhance the mission capabilities by investing in things such as the Procurement Innovation Lab. We've all heard a lot about the pill, and we'll continue to hear about it. And creating a space-based and top cover to try different innovative techniques without fear of reprisal is nothing I'd ever seen in government before. Actually, one of the YouTube videos I saw was of the flash procurement, and it was great to see, somebody like a Soraya, a senior procurement executive at DHS, and her boss at the time, Chick Fulgram, talk about how they're supporting the staff with that procurement. Anyway, that really took me over the top. I continue to be in awe of her methodology used and leads and promotes meaningful communications as an advocate, collaborator, and partner with the industry and the components of the DHS entities and the federal government at large. I thought, my previous experiences, we did a lot of collaboration in the industry. What DHS has done under her leadership is really above and beyond. We meet with other federal agencies, including OFPP, as we heard from Dr. Wooten yesterday. They look at DHS because of the great work you do each and every day. So today's symposium continues upon themes of leadership, innovation, collaboration, and partnership. These topics are as timely and relevant as ever. Speaking of leadership, as Soraya mentioned, what a great panel we had yesterday on leadership. You don't need a title to lead. In such thoughtful discussion in the chat box, I read each and every one of them and was just amazed at the way folks are listening, chiming in, and giving their thoughts on leadership. People can't work in silos. Talking, communicate, and build partnerships are essential to a high-functioning team. You can't be an effective leader at any level without that. So when it comes to leadership characteristics, I look for 5 things. The first one is communication. Good leaders must be able to communicate well with employees at all levels. This is a critical skill, whether the GS5 up to the highest levels of an organization. And the second thing is collaboration. I've noticed that if people don't see you as a collaborator, they won't follow you. I've seen that through my career as well. Folks that I look up to, if they're not collaborators and more almost dictators, nobody wants to follow those people. They'll sit in the room, nod their head, yeah. Then once they leave the room, they really don't want to follow that person. And the third is credibility. You must be credible to your team. You must know the subject matter. If you lose credibility, again, we've all seen this throughout our careers, once you lose credibility, you're out the window. You will not be seen as an effective leader. Fourth, willing to take risks. You cannot be a good leader and be risk adverse. When you're trying something new, you're likely to have failure. We all heard about Thomas Edison. It took him over 1,000 attempts before he actually created a light bulb, and some argue he didn't even create the light bulb. It was some other gentleman. But regardless, it took him 1,000 attempts and he created it. Now we probably can't have 1,000 attempts using, as great as pill techniques are, if we try 1,000 different pill techniques or pill techniques 1,000 times to get a contract in place, that's probably not going to work for us. But hopefully you get the point. The final step is learn to follow. Good leaders must know how to follow. You want your employees in the driver's seat sometimes. It's great, as I mentioned yesterday after one of the sessions, that the best person to make a decision on something is really somebody close to the problem at hand. You really don't want to elevate it up a bunch of levels because you may get an answer you don't like. So again, the learn to follow from a leader is the way to go. If you really want to empower your team, at the same time recognize they make mistakes, and so will you. And keep in mind, no matter how hard you try, you can't change people. If you have a spouse, significant other, kids, yeah, we all know, you know exactly what I mean. You can't change them. And trust me, I've tried a lot of times to change my kids, and it just doesn't work. So the idea is to create an environment where they can grow using their own knowledge, techniques, and experiences. So innovation, we talk a lot about innovation. And here at DHS, we really do pride ourselves in being a champion of acquisition innovation. The vision of our procurement organization is to be consistently serve innovative, flexible business advisors delivering the right solutions to enable DHS mission. In March 2015, our CPO, Soraya, created the Procurement Innovation Lab. Again, Dr. Wooten talked about it yesterday. The whole idea behind it really is to use the flexibility we have in our procurement regulations and allow our staff, provide top cover for our staff to try these innovative techniques. Dr. Wooten mentioned and touted success across not just what's happening at DHS, but across the whole federal government. Innovation, it really has become a way of life in DHS. We're challenging our workforce, but as we do, we need to ensure that we provide the support they need to truly push the envelope. Failure will be and is part of the process. We've had several protests through the PIL program, and you know what? We've been successful in every single one of them, as Polly and her team will attest to. And all the efforts undertaken by PIL are aligned to objectives of developing a risk-tolerant society here at DHS. Using flexibilities, as I mentioned, we already have in our regulations, and just to, again, help us do the best job we can in supporting the defending of our homeland. Another thing that Dr. Wooten mentioned, and we've talked about it a few times, is the use of robotic process automation, or RPA, and artificial intelligence, AI. We're working on a pilot right now for responding to requests for contract award from the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. Basically, this is a committee that looks at when you want to make a contract or a company, looks and see what interest they have outside the U.S. It's a very time, labor-intensive process. The idea is to create a bot, essentially, to do that for us and save a lot of time and effort. Another RPA we're looking at is one to help us streamline the contract responsibility determination. The idea behind it is not to make the determination, but instead of the contracting officer's contract specialist doing all the work to determine whether a contract is responsible, this automated process would go do it for us, bring all the data back to us, and we would make that determination. Again, the idea behind this really is to take all these efforts, to take a lot of time and energy, but at the end of the day, it really is not worth our time. We can spend our efforts doing a lot more valuable things to move the ball forward. So as you learn more about RPA and gain experience through these pilots, we'll learn to implement additional RPA solutions in the future. We're even talking about having an RPA day sometime later this year. So pretty exciting. Anything we can do, being a 30-year veteran as an 1102, anything we can do to get rid of the mundane tasks, such as option years are coming up. Why do we have to go create it? It's already in the system. Should it's coming up? Why can't it? The standard form 30 be sitting in your inbox? Oh yeah, the option year, just type it out instead of you recreating the wheel every time an option year comes up. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about that. And hopefully most of you have heard about our AI initiative with the Contract Performance Assessment Reporting System, or CPARS. As you know, CPARS is a central system which vendors and government collect information on how a vendor does on a particular contract. So on behalf of the government-wide stakeholder, DHS has championed the procurement focus on obtaining demonstrations of different companies using AI to assist contracting officers conducting past performance evaluation. Similar to what I mentioned about performance responsibility checks, this does not take away the discretion of a contracting officer. It's still there. Again, this particular effort is going to help us streamline that process and allow CEOs to make their decisions using the data available without spending a lot of time pulling that data together. Of course, the Envision Future State is a competitive commercial marketplace, similar to credit reporting and a various credit reporting system. So the idea behind this is to procure solutions from vendors, let them come in and pilot the program, pick the solution that makes the most sense, but with minimum investment from the federal government. Again, the idea is, following OMB's directive, is to let the commercial marketplace sell their own products. For instance, like in this case, we'd invest a few dollars. In this case, it was $50,000 into. We awarded the pilot to 9 companies. Invested $50,000 for peer performances over 4 months. After those 4 months, there's going to be a second phase. But that, if you think about it, $50,000 for companies to take the time and effort and try to create a tool like this over 4 months, it's not really, that $50,000 probably barely covered the proposals they submitted in order to get the award. So one thing I want to talk about is how we did the actual procurement itself to get the 9 vendors. Hopefully some of you heard about a Commercial Solutions Opening Pilot Program, or CSOP authority. This is authority that was given to us and a few other agencies that allow us to reach companies that don't typically do business, help us reach companies that don't typically do business with the federal government. Again, it allows us to open up the marketplace, find companies out there that may have the innovative solutions to our problems, and they may not want to go through all the red tape to do contracts with the federal government. So we were excited about the variety of vendors. I mentioned 9. We had large companies, well acquainted with the federal marketplace, and you guys know probably the culprits there, the ones that do a lot of business with the federal government. But we're also able to think small niche companies that have not done business with the federal government, and also some small startup firms. So the 4-month pilot program required a proof of concept, initial viable prototype, a final viable prototype, and several reports related to the prototype that kind of show us what the output would be. Again, I mentioned the vendors spent a lot of time and effort with it. We've gone through the 9, and we've knocked it down a few. The demonstrations were back in January. Over the next few months, we're going to go forward with phase 2. This is taking anonymous CPARS-related data, give it to the companies, and kind of go to the next step. At the end of the day, we expect to get a report that CEOs can use and contract specialists can use to do the responsibility determinations. And at the end of the day, those companies, again, are going to go out and going to market their own wares to the rest of the federal government. It's going to be self-sustaining, very limited investment by the federal government. So very excited about this initiative. And also, you may have seen on the lower right-hand side of Adobe Connect an advertisement for something called Procurement Connect. So how many times you be sitting in your office, especially these days, where you're sitting around at home, you have questions, you want to collaborate with somebody, you could pick up the phone, you can go online, look at the old Ask Professor through DAU. So we thought, why doesn't DHS have their own? I see it right down in the lower left-hand corner right now. So why can't we have our own system to collaborate among the community? So a team of folks, both the headquarters and the components, are working on a pilot right now. It's going to be a community of practice tool for us to engage, share knowledge, and collaborate with each other. This tool is currently being piloted using Microsoft SharePoint discussion board. If the pilot is successful, DHS may explore other robust collaboration tools for 1102 workforce. Again, it's led by folks in our communications and industry liaison branch, along with other components. So at the end of the day, how great would this be? And the suggestion actually came from our executive development program. It was one of their ideas they put forward. We took it and said, yes, this sounds like a great thing to do. So stay tuned. Procurement Connect should be up and running. Will be up and running in June. So next month we'll have Procurement Connect. We'll roll it out. We'll talk about it at the town hall next month. But again, the idea behind it is to give us all a tool to use and collaborate with each other, almost like a bulletin board back in the day. All right, I want to talk a little about collaboration and creating partnerships. Like Soraya, I'm a great believer in partnerships and collaboration. When we communicate, it's not just within DHS, but with industry, other federal agencies and organizations. And doing so allows us to really help the mission go forward. And one such example, you may have heard about this, hopefully you have, is our Procurement and Acquisition Innovation Response Team, or better known as PAIR. At DHS, we love catchy acronyms, so the PAIR team. Because of the surge of inquiries and offers to help us during the pandemic for COVID-19, we received a lot of emails through different means. We decided to create this PAIR team. The idea of the PAIR team is to work with FEMA and other components within DHS to vet ideas from industry to help us respond to COVID-19. So the team's ensuring that DHS is maximizing the procurement flexibility and innovative approaches to meet the response to the COVID-19 response. These are unprecedented times, as Dr. Wooten said yesterday. We'll get through it, but it's good to have industry helping us with their innovative approaches. So this team is led by our very own Nina. So Nina, thank you and the rest of the team for doing this. As the solutions are coming in, we're vetting the solutions, vetting the companies, and we're sending it both within DHS headquarters through S&T, CWMD, but also sending it to the components we think can actually use this stuff. So again, I mentioned the team is comprised of individuals who have expertise in the areas of operational procurement, procurement policy, industry engagement, strategic sourcing, and procurement innovation. As the pair team conducting police's research, as I mentioned, it's sent across to the HCAs and other folks throughout DHS. So with that, I want to thank you for participating in this inaugural event, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I have. You learned something new yesterday and today, and have some fun.